Alright, this should be the final video in the basic video series. One of the things I thought was kind of interesting, even though I said that 3D stuff's basically bogus, you know, this tile painting was kind of interesting. You know, you can, you know, take one of the layers and, you know, kind of add a 3D effect to it like that. So, for example, what the hell? You know, I could drop this in as a smart object. And enter and push this behind this layer here, so you know, so that makes that tiled painting stand out. Seems silly, but you know, I don't know, you might find it useful. Okay, and by the way, I saved a copy of the help manual from Adobe on CS5 in the My Documents directory, you know, under Job Training 3, you know, in Photoshop. So if you need to reference the actual help menu file, that might help. Okay, now the slice tool, you know, I was kind of wondering what the hell it is. It's actually to slice something up mostly for web graphics, apparently. So, you know, I could take it, you know, I brought this old catalog in. Let's say I wanted to make a web page out of it. Well, I can, you know, actually slice it up, you know, in various sections, like, you know, cut some of these pictures out. Let's say I wanted to make them, in theory, you could make them like clickable pictures, you know, to where, you know, like, remember some of those buttons I drew in some of the other videos? Well, in theory, you know, you can make a button up and a button down with it, but you know, you slice it up in a program like, you know, Photoshop here, so you can put it in a website, and you can, you know, divide several of these things into like sections. But, you know, so they can be on different panes, that kind of thing. But, you know, this isn't designed for a web page, but I mean, my point is that it can be done. You know, so you could, you know, slice it up for that. But in theory, you could, you know, slice buttons up and stuff. This one guy's video, which I'll put that in my YouTube Bronson account, you know, is doing just that, you know, with the slice tool. So, you know, I'm not going to give a full tutor on how to use it. Just, you know, if you want to know what it is and what it's used for, like I said, I did download Corel's help file too. But anyway, this might be useful at some point if you create a website and need some graphics to it, you know, so you can just draw it as a single page and then slice it up, you know, after you're done with the graphic. So, you know, so you can treat it like a whole graphic, you know, it'd be efficient. And I guess, you know, hold on. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and try to save this, and I already saved it as a regular Photoshop file just so this document will be in a pristine state. But save for web and devices, you know, you push that. I guess. I am getting low on memory. But, this looks a little different than what that other guy had up. Okay, that's why I was getting confused. Okay, so you can see some of the sightings here. You know, so you can see the slices and how it's kind of sliced up. You know, we want to save it as JPEG. Just keep all that the same. I'm not going to even try to preview it on a thing. I can preview it on a website though and see how it'll look, but let's just go ahead and save it. Let's see. Okay, we want to save it in job training, Photoshop, and I'll put this in web. Okay, now, you know, format images only, but let's go ahead and select HTML and images. All slices, slice web test. That's fine. We'll just keep it as that. Okay. Now that saved it. Now let's go over here and see what this looks like. If it'll pull it up, like I said, my computer's running low on memory. It's a little big. At the very least. I'm not sure if it actually did it right or not, but who knows. Let's go see what happens if you preview it. See, it brought a Chrome. You know, and I'll say this, you know, the browsers I have on this computer are, you know, newer than the software. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's a little big and so forth, you know, I don't know if this is, you know, really did the slicing right or not, but anyway, the point is that it's used for web graphics, so that's all I'm going to say about that. And by the way, if you wanted to, you know, create an easy new layer, you know, you can go, you know, solid, pattern, or gradient layer, you know, that would sometimes be helpful. Alright, so anyway, that gave us a, you know, new pattern layer, so I thought that was kind of handy. And by the way, you know, if you want to change the image size, you do it here under image, you know, you can see what our current width is. So let's say we want to make it 700 by 525. I guess that maintains the aspect ratio. So, you know, what that did is it changed the image size. You know, canvas size, you know, we can change, you know, so let's say we want to make it 10 by 8. So now we got like some borders around the image so that we can, you know, put text on it or whatever. Now if you go in here, you know, you can see we got a lot of adjustments we can make. Like we got this, you know, replace colors, which is kind of cool. So, you know, because you can go in with an eyedropper and, you know, like select something like that cloud, and I can either directly change the color, or I can, you know, screw around with its HSV value so I can make it look like it's a, you know, something off of 12 Monkeys or something. Raining blood, so it's kind of cool. And of course this is hard to remember, so this is something worth touching on, even though it's basic. You know, they got channel mixer. That's what I always look for on, you know, CorelDRAW. I can never find it. You know, like I said, that allows you to adjust the individual red, green, and blue values of an image. So, like I said, that oftentimes comes in handy. You know, you can do some real, you know, cool basic editing that way. Now this little tool could be useful. You know, mode here, by the way, this is where you can change from RGB and 8, 16, or 32 bits per channel. I can't understand. You know, 32 bits per channel, you gotta be kidding me. But, you know, this photo filter, or it's the threshold. You know, this might be handy for creating masks. You see what I'm saying? You know, because it's black and white, so, you know, it's a potentially good masking tool. I wish they had a damn slider on this, though. This kind of sucks. So, like I said, I could go, you know, duplicate the layer, you know, and go in here and go adjustments, threshold, you know, and we could leave it at that if you want, or let's set it like 100. Do that. Okay, so basically, you know, that's a black background that we might be able to use for a mask. Now, it's not you know, set up as a mask, but again, I think, you know, with some screwing around with it, you might be able to make it a mask. There's probably something equivalent to that already in it. Maybe that's why it was so primitive, the tool was. Okay, now here I'm going to show you the vibrance tool. So, you know, you can kind of increase this. It's supposed to be a more subtle, you know, tool to use in saturation, but you know, you can use both of them in consort, and I think that's kind of interesting. That looks pretty eerie. So, and here I did the edit Equalized Tool. So, you know, and this is equalized, this is unequalized, so I just wanted to show you that real quick. By the way, you know, it looks like you can define a custom shape here. So, you know, it's just going to be a shape, not, you know, the colors and stuff. Still never figured out if I could take like raspberries or something like that and use that as a paintbrush type, you know, with the full colors. This is kind of cool. Right up here, you know, the same area as the eyedropper tool, you got this little count tool, which is kind of slick. So if you want to put counting numbers all over your drawing, I'm not exactly sure how that would be helpful. I know there's times that I might have liked that, though. You change the color and stuff up here. I guess you can clear it there. This note tool looked kind of interesting. I don't know what that is. Okay. So So anyway, I guess I can put little sticky notes everywhere is what it's for. Okay, this is a color replacement brush. Now you select the color you want, and the color replacement brush is right here. And you set your tolerance here, and the sampling mode here, and the color here is kind of default, but you know, if you drag it over an object like this, you know, I'm basically replacing it with you know, the green I select. And again, you know, I think the tolerance affects that, how big of an area, or how closely matched the color should be. So again, a little tricky, but again, I think it's a usable tool. Okay, this is kind of interesting, this you know, magic eraser tool right here. Let's see what I did. It's kind of cool. That could come in handy sometimes. This is kind of interesting too, this sponge. So, you know, I mean, I got it set to 86% right now just to exaggerate the effect. But, you know, if I make multiple passes, you can see what it's kind of doing. You know, it's kind of, you know, changing the color. But, you know, you have to make several passes to it, but, you know, it starts to, it's a very subtle effect, you know. So, you know, I'm not even sure what it's doing. I don't know if it's turning it gray or or what, but you know, anyway, it's kind of interesting. Let's see what this tool does, this dodge tool. I don't know. Okay, you know, that's definitely highlighting something that's making things brighter, I guess. Yeah, apparently. And the burn tool. Okay, that appears to maybe be having the opposite effect. It's making things kind of darker. So, okay, then you know, you got the blur tool. Pull the strength up maximum on some of these things. You can see it's kind of making things blurry. So, but you know, but in a subtle way, even when it's set that high. So, you know, you also got a Sharpen Tool, which is just the opposite. Again, the brush size has changed with the brackets. So you can see that's sort of sharpening it, you know. And you got the Smudge Tool, which, you know, I'm very familiar with because I kind of like that on CorelDRAW. I'd use it to try to blend things sometimes, but you know. This is really good for making clouds and shit. You can turn just about anything into a cloud. It's dissolving. nanites. And of course we've already seen the pen tool. So I didn't spend much time really looking at it. Freeform pen tool. And remember, you know, I don't have a path set up, you know, I don't have a path tool set up, so just remember that. So that can confuse you sometimes if you're in path mode instead of pen mode. These are the basic pen tools you got, including the rectangle and everything, are all in the same area. Okay, never ever touch this stupid rotate view tool, you know, because you can't undo it. So, you know, and I don't know how you reset the view, so never touch that. These are just 3D, you know, the 3D tools that you see in the 3D menu, but like I said, 3D I don't think it's worth messing with. That's a stupid magnifier tool. Edit in quick mask mode. What's a quick mask? Oh. Edit what? Oh, okay, that's cool. It actually has me in the mask down here. So I'm actually drawing some sort of mask. I don't know where, but it's not showing up down there like a typical layer mask. This is a vector mask. Are you sure this is the layer I'm on? I think it's the layer I'm on. Huh. It's weird. Huh. Yeah, I'm not really sure what a quick mask mode is. Looks promising. I'm gonna look it up. But yeah, that quick mask mode, you know, is pretty much just to provide a quick mask that you can paint with painting tools. Because basically, here it is, you know, down in my channels layer. So, and you know, down here you can save it, or you know, this is temporary, but you know, you can save it, you know, etc. So, this one guy was painting a wagon wheel and said sometimes it's easier to use this than the marquee tools, although I'm not sure why. But of course, the moment you flip out of it, you know, then you got a mask, you know, and so if you wanted to actually paint anything with it, the mask area is protected. So I mean, so anyway, that about concludes the video, because I think I'm about done. I think I've covered frickin' just about everything on this, really superficially. So anyway,